She was afraid before. And I completely understand that, of course, because when I was speaking up, everyone kept saying I was nuts, I was crazy, I was not well, I was a stalker, I was harassing people. And the reality is I saw what was happening and I knew the truth about the multi-million-dollar business that everyone was protecting with fraudulent GoFundMe campaigns and misinformation campaigns. And to hear a nun say there's a creator network, to hear a nun say, I was afraid to speak up, I was afraid of what would happen to me. It was hard because after the third or fourth month of fighting back and trying so hard to share what I was learning and to expose this, because there were so many other victims contacting me, because I knew there would be so many other victims in the future, because I couldn't stand down. As I watched the world around me burning, I'll get to that in a second. I guess it was the first time that I realized I've been very brave in this situation. And that what happened to me is that I began to question my own reality, with so many people calling me a narcissist, so many people saying I was a stalker and a harasser, and those are big words. They even called me a child mole, you know whatter. So I want to start there, because I think you can see the effect it has 2 years later. And I've done a lot of healing. I've traveled across the world and spoken to experts and so on and so forth. As far as giving the victims a voice, I want to share some of the people who were involved, because honestly, they're worse. They're worse than Ophelia, because they know what they're doing. They know the lies that they're spreading. They know why they're doing it. And they just blindly, many of them, follow, and many of them have fringe benefits, perks. Some of them are protected. Some of them are in a private Discord server together. And the worst of those people is a man named Jason Hernandez, who is also a creator on this app. And the reason why I say the worst of them is because Jason befriended me. First, he made 6 or 7 heinous videos inciting violence against Jewel and I in the first week. And then about a month later, he reached out to me. Things were starting to die down. And he reached out to me and he said that Ophelia was going to apologize. Asked me to send him a bunch of stuff. Recorded a couple of phone conversations. I also recorded a couple of phone conversations. At that point, I knew that everything I was doing was being recorded. If that doesn't fray your mental health, I don't know what will. So I think that what Jason did in pretending to be a peacemaker in order to paint me in an even crazier light deserves repercussions, accountability at the very least. He lives in a mansion in Staten Island. It's interesting because when he reached out to me, we had a lot in common. We both had beautiful homes that we had worked really hard for, and we both loved gardens and history. Girl from Casino is another one. She weaponizes mental health against people. She helps profile people. Nurse Tough Love, someone named A Bottle of Wine. But the huge creators involved are the worst. And when I say the huge creators, I'm very sorry to the people who follow some of the names I'm going to say. But the huge creators that were involved in my particular story and who contributed to spreading a narrative that deceived all of you on this app and beyond this app are Dylan Mulvaney and Face Candy Jenna and Lindsay Taylor and Suja and Tizzy and Dinesh. And these are the people who Mama Tot sends unhinged voice memos to. They're also the people who have a private Discord server where they are able to communicate with each other in real time any narrative that they want spread across their 300 plus million collective following. I'm going to take a pause. Facts over feelings. Do you have any questions?
My jaw's currently on the floor right now. I'm the energy that's like, wow. Do you want the comments on or off? I just wanted to respect.
Let's turn the comments off, and at the end, I'll answer questions.
And there are people that are wanting to come into the box probably to speak with you. I'm just letting you know that. And if you want them one at a time or at all.
Is there any way to screen them or no?
I mean, there are some that are in here constantly, and they help us in here. So there's some of those that are wanting to talk to you, I think.
When I'm done talking to you guys and making my statement, let's get some people in the boxes and I'm with them.
And I also wanted to let you know that there is a user in this chat going, the username is I'm that bish still A.K. They are streaming on their live right now. They seem to have a hate page on you. And I guess Ophelia is in that chat. I'm trying to find them in mine so I could block them, but I just wanted to let you know that I'm aware of this and I'm doing what I can.
Thank you. They're so insignificant.
Yes. But I'm going to mute myself and you can keep going and then let me know what you'd like me to do.
Thank you. I now want to talk about how this all started, because I think it's an important detail that at the time on TikTok, it was very common for smaller creators to make videos. They're called call-out videos. To larger creators trying to spread an idea, asking for help, wanting them to see their art, whatever it was. And in fact, I did that successfully with many people. And I made one for Dylan Mulvaney, and I made one for Ophelia Nichols. And as you can see from the receipts that I've been sharing on my page, Ophelia first never responded. I was asked in a live how I felt about not hearing Ophelia, and I said that it hurt, that it never feels good to feel like you're ignored, and that that's a me problem, not an Ophelia problem. The next day, Ophelia made a video that was pretty aggressive. In that video, she says, I wasn't ignoring you. You know what, let me rephrase because I won't even put my own tone on it. You can go watch it. It's on my page. I wasn't ignoring you. I might not have seen it. I might not have seen it, is what Ophelia had to say. Among other things, the tone and the feeling behind the video that she created was it was clear she was angry. For that reason, I did not think the video was about me, because at that point, all I knew and what I thought was that I just made one video saying, Ophelia, please consider joining the Dreammaker movement. And so it just didn't make sense. And 10 minutes after it posted, which is actually how I saw it, a creator named Face Candy Jenna texted me and said, are you okay? And I said, yeah, I'm okay. Why? She said, Ophelia's video is about you, and sent me the link to the video. I went and I watched the video, and I wrote back to Jenna and I said, you really think that video is about me? And when she finally texted me back, she said, I know for a fact I spoke with Ophelia this morning. That's how I know that Dylan Mulvaney was involved, because there was a text message sent to Lindsay Taylor, who's also involved in this story, that Lindsay showed me on a FaceTime and read to me. So I can't prove that, but I do know that Jewel was there and always has said that that was what happened. But I don't usually bring it up because I'm really trying to work in fact. Okay, so I felt horrible. I apologized profusely. I begged Jenna to apologize to Ophelia for me. I made a video that I sent to friends only because Ophelia and I were already mutuals. And I sent it to friends only so that not a lot of people would see it, so that once she saw it, I could take it down because I didn't want to make a whole big thing out of it. Out of nowhere, I get a message from Ophelia's Instagram account. It says, hey, that video is not about you. This is Lissa. I said, okay. I thought about it. I came back to Lissa and I said, just so you know, I know that video is about me. Let's just leave it alone. And thus began what I can describe as mild bullying now, but at the time did not feel like mild bullying. Lots of videos about my personal appearance, videos calling me creepy, which you might think I'm creepy, and that's okay. You can think that. Everyone has a right to their opinion. It's not something I had ever heard ever. Lissa and I ended up in touch multiple times through that process, through Ophelia's personal Instagram account, and then through Lissa's Instagram account. And I would highly recommend you go see some of those receipts on my page because it explains a lot of the situation. This is before I ever responded publicly. Nobody knew any of this was happening. This is before the stitch where everyone says that I said that I've invented charity or I invented pay it forward. Okay? The bullying is getting worse and worse. They're starting to come into my lives. The tots are starting to come into my lives. They're starting to tell me to unalive myself. They're starting to really upset members of my community who are saying that they don't feel safe anymore. And I am reaching out and asking them to please help. They told me that they were going to make a Dreammaker video, and finally they offer me a FaceTime call with Ophelia, and we have it. And in that FaceTime call with Ophelia, I tell her all about Dreammaker. What is Dreammaker? This is a great moment to take a pause. Dreammaker is a movement that I started in 2013. People would send me their biggest goal, their biggest aspiration, and I would find a way, or several ways, to help them achieve that thing without using any money ever. No money. Over the years, I have built a dojo for a karate teacher without using money. He now teaches karate to all of the underprivileged children in his community, cost-free, and he teaches their moms self-defense. I helped a Peace Corps volunteer, publish a children's book. She's now written 6. That first one has been published in every French-speaking country across the world. I have helped multiple people start thriving businesses. I have helped people save their home, cremate their father. I have helped people see the Northern Lights. I have helped people get landmark status on their building. I have helped people become content creators. I have helped people meet their grandchildren for the first time. I have helped, you name it, and I have probably had a dream come to me that just really connected with my heart, and I said, yes, I'm going to do this. And I did this for 10 years. There are thousands of stories. And I explained all of this to Ophelia on the FaceTime. She said, wow, it's amazing. Absolutely. Send me all the info on your not-for-profit. To which I said, there is no not-for-profit. There's no trademark. There is no LLC. I have no ownership of this. The only way this works, the only way that Dreammaker works, is if my name is forgotten in the context of it. And I stand by that today because I can't be the only one. It doesn't change the world with one person. It only changes the world if everyone decides to become a dream maker and everyone also decides to receive their dream. It's a two-way street. It is this very beautiful exchange of being so unafraid to say that you need help and being willing to receive that someone wants to help you, which is really hard for me and a lot of other people. And it's also raising your hand and saying, I will help you. I will help you. After explaining this all to Ophelia, she said, well, that's a no-brainer. Send me all the information. And I did. I sent her the information. I offered her to be the star of a People magazine story. Recently, or just before that, the editor-in-chief of People magazine had reached out to me and said, I think it's time for us to do a follow-up on the Dreammaker story. And I wanted, at that time, to decentralize myself from the movement. And so I sent Ophelia an email and I said, I want to decentralize myself from the movement. Again, these receipts are on my page. I would like for you, Christy Carlson Romano, yes, Christy Carlson Romano of Disney fame, Ren Stevens and Kim Possible, and Lindsay Taylor to be the stars of this story. And that was that. Then I waited patiently. A week goes by. A week and a half goes by. I reach out to Lissa. Hey, what's going on? Haven't heard back from Ophelia. Just wondering, the bullying is getting really bad. And what do you want me to tell people when they're asking about this? And the bullying is getting really bad. The bullying is getting really bad. And I know that it will stop the second that Ophelia makes that Dreammaker video. And it's in drafts. It's in drafts. Great. Let me know. Another week and a half goes by. I reach out. I say to Lissa, on Lissa's Instagram page, which is where she's directed me from Ophelia's personal page, I say to Lissa, please don't make a Dreammaker video. Please do not make a Dreammaker video. Please do not make a Dreammaker video. It has to come from the heart. If it doesn't come from the heart, it doesn't work. I've been doing this for almost 10 years, and I know that. It has to come from the heart or it doesn't work. I'm going to take a pause here because there's a very important detail of that first FaceTime that you all need to know, which is that in the FaceTime call that I had with Ophelia, I told her explicitly, also test me on this because I have never released this phone call, but I do have it. It's my smoking gun and I'm holding it. So test me, guys. Say I'm lying because I know they're watching. I told Ophelia explicitly on that call, When you do giveaways of money and you tell people to leave their Zelle and Venmo links in your comments, you open up your entire following to fraud. I'm going to repeat that because it's such an important detail. And again, I'm going to remind the people watching, AK, Ophelia, I hear you're mirroring in another live. When I told Ophelia explicitly in that FaceTime that when you do giveaways and ask your followers to leave their Venmo links and their Cash App links in your comments, you open your entire following up to fraud. And what do you think happened a week and a half after I told them not to make a Dreammaker video? Ophelia one Sunday had an extra $100 in her budget. If you believe that Ophelia had an extra $100 in her budget, sorry, like it's just like the ludicrousness of this 12 million monetized account having $100 left over in her budget. Okay, but if you believe it, that's cool. You can believe what you want. Who am I to say what's critical thinking and what's not critical thinking, right? And she decides to give it away. Leave your Venmo and your Cash App links in the bio, she says. Leave your Venmo links and your Cash App in the bio, she says. I saw it. I made one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made in my life in terms of being a reactor. Hold on one second, guys. Would you close that door? My love, mi amor. Hold on.
If somebody can go over to that other live and find out the backup account so I can end that ugly orange person, that'd be great.
Okay. I reacted. I stitched the video. I did not want to stitch that video and say, I spoke to you 3 weeks ago and told you that when you do this, it opens all of your followers up to fraud. So instead, I misspoke and I said, we both know I've given you a lot of grace. You stole my idea. You took Dreammaker and added money to it. And I wish I'd never made that and I would have just said it's fraud. Because either way, the outcome would have been the same. The outcome would have been the same. And it wouldn't have mattered if I had said that. I didn't know that at the time. I didn't understand the tots and the army that the tots are. And I was very quick to take it down. I took it down very quickly, but someone duetted it and it spread. And within hours, the videos with the same narrative of me thinking I own charity, of being a narcissist, of being a creepy harasser stalker who's obsessed with Ophelia, started within hours of that stitch, which is not, what I said wasn't bad. What I said was, you stole my idea and added money to it. We both know how much grace I've given you. I tried to be your friend. I care about you. Let's settle this like human beings. Watch the stitch. It's all over social media, I'm sure. That's what created the backlash. Now the backlash comes and a lot of things are not adding up. What is this story? How do they all have the same story? Who are these people who act like they've spoken to me and know me, who are commenting on who I am as a person and what my movement is all about? How are they all doing? And I started to do my research and I started to see connections. And then I learned that even though Lissa told me that Ophelia never has spoken to or doesn't know Jenna at all, that about 6 months prior, Ophelia made a video defending Jenna against a group of face painters who accused her of plagiarizing their work. Then those face painters started reaching out to me. Then a woman who posted a Newsweek article about the facts of Ophelia's case reached out to me. More and more and more and more people started reaching out to me. Ophelia Nichols victims. Go watch the nun's video. She's been watching for years. And I started to put together the network. And I started to understand how the network works. And I still couldn't figure out, how do they communicate with one another? And then one day someone sent me an anonymous screenshot of their private Discord server. Oh, I can just imagine how much the people watching this right now or on that team are fuming. Then I had a call with Dan Thompson. Ophelia refers to him as her gay as hell best friend, but really he's a slick PR guy, which is what he called me in his videos. Here's the thing. If you watch the videos carefully, they tell on themselves. They called me a stalker and harasser when they were the ones stalking and harassing me, and I'm going to get to that in a second. I have a call with Dan Thompson. Part of that call is on my page. I am going to release the entire call. I am going to release the entire call on a Google Drive where they can't have it taken down for community guideline violations. So far, 3 out of 5 of my receipts videos, all I'm doing is taking their content and putting receipts over it that show that they're not telling the truth. That's it. And I keep getting community guideline violations. Keep me quiet. Keep me quiet. But you can't anymore. Because I'm going to go away after this. I'm going to make this statement and I'm going to focus on Dreammaker. But get your tots out of my comments, because you never know the day that it's just going to hit me wrong and I'm just going to respond. Okay, so I speak to Dan. Dan tells me, Jenna and Lindsay did this. We both know that. They've been friends for years. They're acting like they don't know each other, but they grew up together in the same town. Lindsay Taylor was my friend. She came to my house, lied to me about her relationship with Jenna. Dan Thompson, some guy in Canada, is outing this to me. Now it's making even less sense, and I'm starting to really connect the dots. Lady Guinevere? Who is Lady Guinevere? And how can anyone have a rap sheet that long? And how can someone like Ophelia Nichols align herself with that? I don't know. All the videos are coming. I'm really, really freaked out. I woke up to explicit message of SA and unaliving of my partner in front of me. Okay, that was with my address in it and my phone number. A follower of mine, funny aside, reached out to me today and said, I hope that's not your number because it's visible in some of your receipts. And I said, that number has been doxxed so many times at this point. Like, who cares? What are they gonna do? A couple days go by. I receive a cease and desist letter from Jeanette Braun, who's also a TikTok creator, who's also embroiled in a very big scandal with other TikTok creators. And I'm not sure what's going on, but my understanding is that her license to practice law is being called into question. Luckily, one of my best friends, who I just saw recently, is an attorney at a very big law firm. So I sent him the cease and desist. And he said, this is bullying and harassing. This is using the law as bullying and harassment. You do not have to abide by this cease and desist letter. He said that demanding a video apologizing and retracting the statements that I made is not something that you can actually put into a cease and desist. It's something that you would demand in negotiations if you even make it to the point where you are negotiating a settlement of some kind. The cease and desist, Barfly, who I think is in the chat, also looked at. And everyone just told me the whole thing was a joke. It's a joke. It's just intimidation. But, and before I say this, I'm going to remind those watching from that team to try to test me on this. As soon as I received that cease and desist letter, Ophelia made 5 videos. She never says my name. That's what everyone wants to say. Ophelia never says my name. She never says my name. She made 5 videos. She allowed my name to stay in the comments for hours. I have screenshots of all of this. I have every video that she has made about me. She made a Facebook post about me. She called me a stalker. I want to let you know what happens when you tell 12 million people that someone, especially someone in the LGBTQIA community, is stalking you. Especially when a good 50% of your following are part of a system that really does not like LGBTQIA people. What do you think happens? What do any of you think happens? Well, the violence ramps up. At this point, I really lost track of the timeline because this went on for so long. What I do know is that the police were called to my house. They tried to hold me on a 5150. At that point, I tried to file a restraining order. They said there was really nothing I could do because Ophelia never says my name, but that I could file individual complaints against each commenter and each death threat and each so on and so forth. And it was just so much information and so much work to go through all of that. And I froze. So now the police have been called to my house. At this point, I'm not sure when, but at a certain point, I started isolating in my closet, in my master bedroom closet. Meanwhile, Ophelia, who says I stalked, bullied, and harassed her, and that she couldn't, was off making her normal content. Also, if you look at the videos that she made about me, I would like you to look and see how much money she made off of each one monetizing it. Because actually, the fact that I made that stitch sent her viral. And her account was monetized and mine was not, because I'm Dreammaker, the no money person. And because you can make your opinions about whether she's running a grift or not. One by one, Ophelia's little friends crawled out of their little holes. Jason Hernandez, she's gonna apologize to you. Do not test me, I will share every text. So just leave it alone, let me speak and then leave it alone. Reached out to me. Mary Hooker, girl from Casino, reached out to me. Everyone from that side reached out to me, always promising me that she was going to do the right thing. And even to the point where that Lindsay Taylor phone call happened in November. By the way, this started August 22nd. So in November, I have a 6-hour phone call with Lindsay Taylor, and you can hear it in my voice. You can see it in my eyes from the videos I was posting that I was not okay at that point. Like, gone. Ophelia, in comments, denies that I ever offered her People magazine. As a result, her best friend, Dan Thompson, comes into the comments, tags the People magazine writer, tells everyone to tag the People magazine writer. He subsequently takes his name off the byline of the People magazine story that he wrote. And I'm going to pause here to explain what it really takes to get into People magazine, okay? That is not easy to do. First, you have to work for 7 years on a movement that you don't even know if it's going to take off or not. Then it has to somehow take off in some small way, enough to get People magazine to notice it. Then People magazine comes to you and they say, we might be interested in running this story. This is after 7 years of focused, hard, and meticulous work. This is after Morgan Spurlock, the Academy Award-winning director, helps make a dream come true. This is after Portia de Rossi, Ellen's wife, helps make a dream come true. This is after thousands of just everyday real people in communities helping to make a dream come true. And this takes convincing. You have to convince people. You have to tell, well, how do you do it with no money? I have to coach you on how to do it with no money. It just doesn't happen, right? I became the person doing all of that work behind the scenes to get a movement off the ground. So by the time it hits People magazine, they are now going to talk to some people. They start talking to people. They talk to people for months. Then after they talk to all the people, if they still decide they're writing a story, they start to fact check everything. Fact check everything. I'm going to repeat that one more time. They fact check everything. And the reason why I'm repeating it is because what facts have you seen from that team that I bullied or stalked or harassed them? All you've seen are social media videos and the fact that I went live and talked about it. And what they're not showing you, which I can show you, date stamped and everything, is that each time I responded, it was a response. It was not me just randomly going live. It was a video that one of them posted that was not true. And yes, my accountability and what I have learned is that I should have walked away from that situation. And I probably should walk away from this one now. I'm deciding. We'll see how it goes after tonight. At that point, I'm gone. I'm waking up. I'm not leaving the closet. I'm carrying my childhood stuffed animal around with me everywhere I go. I am not leaving the house anymore. I already kind of was having an issue with that but before this, and this made me a full shut-in. The couple of times I did leave the house, I was so paranoid. I was afraid to walk around. You can see how frayed my mind was from the content that I was creating. And they don't stop. And the more they don't stop, the more I am not stopping. And when they called Jules' manager, which Ophelia classifies as her lawyer reaching out to Jules' manager to get me to stop what I was doing. That's how she classifies it. When we got the call from Jules' manager, the call that we got was someone called me to tell me that we should drop Jewel from the roster. And we said, how did you respond? And she said, I told them to go fuck themselves, and hung up the phone on them. So that's how Jules' manager responded to these people. Her followers are contacting my management. I have evidence of what she tried to do to Jewel. I have a recording of Jason Hernandez explaining to me that she realized that the only way she could really get to me would be to hurt him. And boy, is that right. And boy, is that right. By January, I didn't see it, but Jewel was done. I was gone. The person he loved did not exist anymore. And he was gone. The book deal I was negotiating, gone. The TV show I was about to make, gone. My house. Is Ophelia 100% responsible for the fact that I lost my house? Of course not. I'll say that unequivocally. We were gonna be okay. We were in a precarious position and doing everything that we needed to do to be okay. And she came in, and she and her followers took away all of our income. Jewel had a thriving tarot business. Jewel which she classifies his acting career as like, he was kind of acting. He was kind of trying to act. Jewel had a movie called Voodoo Macbeth in theaters across America. Everything we were working for was happening for us. And it just, every single day it was something new gone. And when it was Jewel, the truth is they took me away from myself. And there was no one left to love. That's how dangerous these people are. So Jewel decides he's gonna go. He can't handle this, it's too much stress. He doesn't like that I won't let it go. But by that point I said, I'll let it go, I'll let it go. It's just too late. And that's when I decided it was time to leave social media. And so I said goodbye to everybody. My integrity and my credibility that I had built meticulously over my life just incinerated. It's amazing that you can build something for an entire lifetime and it can be taken away in a second by a grifter who's never worked for anything in her entire life, including raising her own children. I promised myself I was not going to cry on this live. I had to sell everything I own. And when I say that, I want to really explain to you what that means, because, and many of you, especially the Libras here, will really relate to this. And I took it to another level. There was not a spoon in my home that I did not love. They are hand forged. I would save up and buy them one at a time as the years went by from an artisan in Maine. Every single blanket, every single pillow, the rugs, collected over a lifetime from a kid who left home at 16 years old with no resources and never looked back and just worked and worked and worked to build a life to get to a point where I could have a beautiful home in Studio City, California with 8 gardens that I planted from seeds, and I sold every single thing I ever collected across my entire career, across my world travels, which I worked so hard to do. And I sold it all. I raised a large amount of money. I gave a huge chunk of it to Jewel because I love him and because I wanted him to be okay and because I wanted him to be able to restart his life more comfortably than he would have if I didn't do that. And feeling very unsafe, having been assaulted in a Rite Aid in California with someone screaming "Mama Tot" in my face, I booked a one-way ticket to India with no intent of coming back to the United States. My money took me for about a year. I lived in India, I lived in Thailand, and I lived in Paris. And when I was in Paris, 1 year later, almost to the day in August, I decided I was going to start TikToking again. I decided that because I felt like I didn't want the people who still believed in me to see someone be bullied off of an entire social media platform. And so I started making content, and I started making content about some of the things I was learning. If you scroll back to the beginning of this TikTok that I'm on right now, this page, you can go and see the content. It's really, I love it. I think it's beautiful. It was about some things I saw in India that changed my perspective on the world, or some things that I experienced in Thailand that showed me how resilient I am. It was, sometimes I didn't even show my face because of how much hate was in the comments. Go read the comments on those videos and you tell me who bullies who. I'm just going about my life. I'm making my TikToks. I'm not talking about the incident as it occurred. And one day, out of nowhere, double the amount of big creators start making videos announcing that I'm back, telling them that I'm gonna harass Ophelia, telling them that I'm her stalker, telling them that I'm a child you-know-whatter, and then finally, thank you for this. Thank you for this, Ophelia. Ophelia got all dressed up in a bright red outfit, cutesy tootsy southern wootsy, and tells a story. She weaves a tale. And it was the first time I really had the whole timeline in her words. And it was the first time she mentioned Jason Hernandez. And it was the first time she mentioned some of the other creators that I tied into her network. And the hate was so intense. And I had already experienced it and thought I had the strength to withstand it. And then the final video that I ever saw was from a creator called Cliff's Notes Gal. I recently made a video that I had to make private because it was community guideline violation. And all the video is me taking that last video that I saw, which I screen grabbed, because I learned in this process, you screen grab everything. Everything. You never know what lie they're gonna tell. And I screen grabbed that video. I held onto it for years. I currently have a private video that got community guidelined, where I just took her video and piece by piece I responded with receipts showing that she had either been lied to or was not telling the truth. And funny, I got a guideline for bullying and harassment, but her video is still up. So how is it that I can harass someone making a video about me first? And all I'm doing is clearing up the erroneous details, of which it's like one after the next. This is what they do. Anyway, I'm in Paris. I speak to Jewel for the first time. It's a very brief conversation. Right after all of these social media influencers launch a third or fourth, I can't even keep count anymore, huge scale attack. My name, hashtag Charles Wrestler, had 343 million interactions. I have the screenshot. Rosie O'Donnell commented on Ophelia Nichols' post saying that I need to be exiled from all society. And I decided that it was the right time to leave this world. I made a plan. There was a friend of mine who knew that I was not messing around and knew that I was not going to let her know my location and helped me so that I wouldn't mess it up. And I spoke to another friend and said, I have a lot of intellectual property. I have all the content I've ever made on every platform because I had an entire viral Twitter back in the day. And then I have had a YouTube channel and I have an Instagram that has a completely different content style than TikTok does, and then all my TikTok. And then of course I've been writing a book for many, many, many years. So I've written probably 1,000 pages. There's a lot of intellectual property. So I asked her, what do I do with all of this? And she helped me organize it all. Very meticulous in the process. I went onto Barfly's sub, not the tater tot, and made a statement, which was subsequently taken down, which actually made things a lot worse for me because it was just another example of my voice being silenced. And I, in several hours from that point, was going to unalive myself. I'm not going to tell you how. I don't want to get anyone's lives banned. The friend who I had trusted with my intellectual property, who lives in California, flew to Paris, not knowing where I lived. I refused to give anyone my location. And she flew to California. She flew to Paris and said, "I'm starving. Have you eaten?" I said, "No, I haven't eaten." "Well, that's not true. I had a chocolate croissant." She said, "Ha ha. Let's have dinner." And I thought she meant like, let's FaceTime. And then she sent me her location, and she was in the 11th arrondissement in Paris, which is a neighborhood in Paris. And she saved my life. And I wonder how hard it would have been for Ophelia from the beginning to just get on her platform and say, the video that you're all bullying Charles Ressler, the creator, is not about Charles. The problem is it was about me. She just didn't like me. I threatened her entire platform because I'm the real thing that she pretends to be. Except I don't walk around saying I'm a good person because no one is a good person. Because we all just do our best and we all make mistakes and we all have harm. And we all will have to seek forgiveness at some point in time. And so, no, I don't masquerade as a good person. I don't walk around saying every good deed that I do every day of the week. I made a movement so that everyone could band together to do something outside of capitalism together. Because the truth is, in the beginning, the reason why there's no money involved in Dreammaker is because every single person thinks that the reason why they can't have the thing that they wish for the most in the world is because they don't have the money to make it happen. And I, leaving home at 16 with no money to my name, only resources, of which I came from privilege. So I had a lot more resources than most people who leave home at that age, even though I didn't have money. I know the power that a list of 20 resources can have. It can be the difference of life and death. It can be the difference of building that thing that makes you wake up in the morning thrilled that you're alive. Or it could be the difference of just grinding in the machine and grinding in the machine. But you see, Ophelia Nichols needs the money that grinds in the machine. She needs you to give it to her. She saw reflected a not character. She had it wrong. I never thought I was perfect. I still don't think I'm perfect. If anything, I'm so afraid of being perfect now because part of the backlash was that I was supposed to be representing kindness, even though I never said that. But that's how I'm such a beautiful soul. And now everyone is saying that I've been lying about that this whole time. But that's not true. Have I done some really lovely things for people in my life? Yes. Am I more generous than the average person? Probably. That has been reflected to me from the people around me. But that's not good enough for me. I think that everyone is as generous as I am. I assume it. Then I decided, and again, you can follow this story on my TikTok, that I had to show Jewel how sorry I was. And I decided I was going to try to walk across the United States and ask people to help me using only Dreammaker principles to get me across the country. I asked him to meet me under the Washington Square Arch in New York City for one dance, which is on our first date, we had a single dance under the Washington Square Arch. alone in the park. And for those of you in the comments and the tots who want to say that's stalker behavior, Jewel doesn't live in New York City. He doesn't live in New York City, so I'm asking him to meet me in a place where he doesn't live for one dance in a public place. Someone needs to look up the definition of stalker. The last thing I'll say, and then I'll open it up, is that I hope no one, not Ophelia Nichols, not Jason Hernandez, no one in this chat ever knows what it feels like to be gaslit so hard that you start questioning if you were ever a good person, that you start questioning, did I stalk and harass those people? That you are gaslit to the point of not really knowing what the reality is anymore. Thank God I screenshotted everything. It kept me alive a lot of days because I could go back and see, oh, thank God. Okay, the truth is still there. Like, it's still in fact. Because my brain told me that I'm the common denominator here, especially with the town square of creators who were bashing and bashing and bashing. And I also hope that no one ever experiences what it's like to be bullied, stalked within an inch of your life, stalked daily, reach outs from all of these people in a network, stalked and harassed. Not only by individuals, but also by their 12 plus million person following, their 600,000 person following, their 500, their 2.2 million following, one after the next, after the next, after the next. And then being the victim of that, and then to add insult to injury, to have those people who are stalking and harassing you turn around and say that you are stalking and harassing them, that you are the perpetrator of it. You are perpetrating it. So now you're the villain, when in actuality you're the victim of a planned attack. It will fray you. It will change you. It will have you question whether or not goodness exists in this world. I spent my entire life trying to figure out ways to make my life in some way be of service to people and the earth. I haven't always gone about it in the best way. I've been a little bullish at times. I can see that very clearly now. But the intent was always very pure. And even though I don't believe, and I will never tell you what a pure soul I am, I will never come on and make a video letting you know what a good person I am, or a good person like you and me. There's no need. You can decide that on your own. I'm in my own world doing my own thing. But what I will say is that Dreammaker, the idea, the movement, helping people achieve their biggest goals without using any money is a pure idea. It's about as pure and altruistic of an idea as they come. I'm not sure what other ideas are so pure. If they are, send them to me so I can get involved somehow or see what I can do to help. But that's about as pure as it comes, especially because of the no money. Now, why would Ophelia not want that? Ophelia kept telling people, I'm being harassed by this person. I'm being harassed and stalked by this person. And I'm such a good judge of character that I knew right from the get-go, and I ignored them from the beginning. Well, now you know that isn't true. Now you know that we spoke. We had a FaceTime. I offered her People magazine. Her moderator was in touch with me. Her tots were bullying me. They promised to help me. Her other friends were in touch with me. We went back and forth. But now you guys know all of that. And How's her good judgment with a dentist who was SAing his victims? That's great judgment. She can tell a narcissist a mile away, right? Go watch the video she says about me. She can spot a narcissist a mile away. What about Dr. Tiffany? Do you guys remember Dr. Tiffany? Dr. Tiffany was a trans doctor on this app a few years ago. She was in the network, like Jeanette Braun. Can you imagine what services a doctor might provide to a bunch of TikTok creators who like to party? Anyway, her insurance scheme came out and she's no longer on the app. Mutuals with Ophelia, lots of duets back and forth. What did Ophelia get for that relationship, I wonder? I'm just gonna drop that little Easter egg to all the Swifties out there. Getting someone who has a you-know-what white menace on their arm to go see Jelly Roll. Oh, is Jelly Roll in that group? What about his wife, Bunny? I don't know. What do you think? This goes so deep, hundreds and millions of dollars deep, and thousands of death threats deep. And Ophelia's private investigator privately messaging me on a TikTok app from an account called Destiny Legere, where he tells me that the death threats are coming from a number that ends in the last 4 digits of my phone number. And I say, oh my God, that's my phone number. And they screenshot only that part. Thinking I don't have that conversation, I have the whole thing. How they goaded me into saying something that they could use to say that I was sending the death threats to myself. That is how disgusting these people are. One lifetime of credibility. I kept saying to people, I kept making videos, Google me, Google me. You will see I've always been this person. I've helped a lot of people. Just Google me. Go see all the leaders of the world who I have worked with who have said I'm a lauded creative mind. Go look at my professional history and the fact that I have run major corporations that are famous and beautiful. And that is not easy to do. It's not easy to land in that role. It's not easy. Most people have nepotism on their side. I left home at 16. I did all of that. Google me and Google her. Who is this woman? Why are you believing her? Not the tater tot it. And then there's the fake allyship. Telling 350 million collective following creators that I use they, them pronouns as a manipulation tactic to be able to say that she's misgendering me is one of the most this is not about you moments you need to have in your life. This is not about you, sweetie. I grew up in a home where the fact that I liked to pretend in female roles like the fairy princess and dress up in wigs and dresses was a crime, where I was abused for doing that. When I was growing up, there was no such thing as a they, them pronoun. When the internet, I told all my followers forever that I prefer they, them pronouns and that I don't really correct people because I want to be an open beacon for them. I don't want them to feel like they can't, like they have to walk on eggshells to talk to me because they, them pronouns is hard for a lot of people. And I wanted to stay open to that. And I regret that now, but it was well known in my following that I prefer they, them pronouns and I just wouldn't correct people. But then when the internet started saying videos saying, sir, You do not harass a white woman. Sir, you do not harass a woman. You do not stalk a woman. Sir, a woman, as if she's as if she's in a marginalized community. Which, listen, you have no idea the level that I will fight for marginalized communities, and that includes gender equality. But like a white woman against a queer person is not the same thing as sir. And it was very triggering for me. And I just came out and made it clear, my pronouns are they, them, please stop misgendering me. That was directed at everyone. And the voice memo from Chaz's voice memos that Ophelia references, Ophelia says, he says there's a voice memo that says, I won't stop until he's dead. She assumed I was talking about her because I said it came from a large creator. And she forgot how many large creators were involved. And that voice memo came from Face Candy Jenna. And it exists. And that is not the only thing that she said. She said she would not stop until I am alone, friendless, and hopefully unalived. And thousands and millions participated in this. Thousands and millions participated while they watched the light leave my eyes. One of the most jolting parts in retrospect is that, of course, I have all the content that I was creating before I ever crossed paths with Ophelia. And if you saw it, you would be like, wow, this is such beautiful. This is so beautiful. It really is beautiful. And it really is thoughtful. And it really is who I was in that time of my life. And I really was sharing the best I knew how. And you can just watch day by day by day by day that person disappear, become a shell. Their light just went out. And then everyone around me left. They didn't recognize me anymore. I recently came back from a visit with my childhood best friend and his mother, who's like my mother, because like I said, I left home very young. And his mother stepped in for me, and his wife and their kids. And we haven't seen each other in these 2 years, and we've spoken very little. And it's because they only saw what happened on social media, and they watched my psychological state, and they didn't know what to do. And they had people around them who were tots, actually, showing them things on social media, and they didn't know what to do. And we were just all together, and I showed them my Google Drive and everything, and I showed them the private Discord server stuff and all the proof that I have, and they were just mortified, and we cried and cried and cried. And they said, I'm sorry. We wish we had been there for you. And I said, it's okay. So things are healing. People are coming back. My light has returned in a different way. I actually think I like myself more now. I think a lot of my naivety went away. And I grew up a lot. And maybe in exchange for my unequivocal belief in humankind, I gained a little bit of wisdom. I gained a little bit of badassery. And I certainly gained the ability to not care at all what people think. Because you really have to try to find a way to love yourself when nobody loves you and everyone is telling you that you don't deserve to live. It's either don't live or find a way to live in your own skin and see your own light. And eventually other people started to see it too. There's a lot more to the story. It's a lot more complicated, but I'll leave it there for now. And I'll open it up for questions, and putting people in the box if we want to do that.
Charles, there are just no words. I think